You probably remember your first real crush. Not the playground, we're married because we sat next to each other kind of crush, but the first time your heart actually dropped. The first time you got nervous over a text, or the first time someone said your name in a way that made everything else kind of disappear. And if you're queer, there's a good chance that that first crush didn't just come with butterflies. It came with confusion, guilt, maybe even grief. Because for a lot of us, that first moment of love also became the first time we realized that the world might not love us back, or that the person we were crushing on might find us disgusting or weird. Growing up, I had a lot of struggles differentiating romantic and platonic feelings for people. This is something that still affects me today, as I will encounter people and not know if I want to become romantically closer to them or simply just want to get to know them better. And it's not just me. A lot of queer people, especially women and people raised as women, grow up without the language to tell those feelings apart. We're taught to value friendship above all else. But when friendship and attraction start to blur together, no one tells you what to do with that. That's why Girlfriends hits me so hard. This quiet little Yuri manga from the mid-2000s doesn't try to treat women love women story like any ordinary straight relationship with two girls instead. It just lets you sit in that awful electric uncertainty, where you're lying in bed thinking about her smile, trying to convince yourself that everyone feels this way about their best friend. It captures that specific teenage love where every casual touch feels like too much, but you're starving for it anyways. Where you want to say something, anything, but you're scared it'll ruin everything. There's no dramatic plot twist, no one gets hit by a truck, no love rival with superpowers, just two girls, Mari and Akko, navigating high school, friendship, and slowly realizing that they're falling in love. So in honor of Pride Month,
let's go, lesbians! Oh my god, lesbians. Lesbians, move out of my way!
I want to take you on a deep dive into what makes this manga so quietly brilliant, and why it might just be one of the most honest depictions of teenage women love ever written. This video will get into spoilers, so if you haven't experienced Girlfriends firsthand, consider yourself warned. Honestly, I really recommend reading it yourself before watching, and if you do decide to dive in, please come back and share your thoughts. So grab a blanket, grab a drink, and let's get on with it. I'm going to preface this whole video by saying that I'm trying my hardest not to butcher any Japanese names in this, but I also cannot promise anything. It's hard enough to pronounce things in English, let alone Japanese. I have an accent that was curated all over the United States, and sometimes I simply do not pronounce things right, so please bear with me. I am trying, I promise. Alright, so what exactly is Girlfriends? It's a Yuri manga by Milk Morinaga, originally published between October 21st, 2006 and August 21st, 2010. The story follows two high school girls, Mariko, or Mari as she's often called, and Akiko, who is called Akko, as they navigate the tricky waters of friendship, identity, and that confusing, thrilling feeling of falling in love for the first time. One thing that immediately stands out is that it's written by a woman. For queer women tired of Yuri stories that feel inauthentic or male-gazy, this manga delivers a genuine perspective. Mari starts off as a reserved, book-smart girl. She gets good grades, keeps her head down, and doesn't really stand out. She's not interested in flashy things or trendy fashion. She kinda lives in the quiet corners of her school life, until Akko steps into her world. Akko is everything that Mari isn't. Loud, social, effortlessly charming. She loves shopping, goes to mixers, and somehow manages to glide through life even though she's barely passing her classes. She's got that kind of charisma that pulls people in, and for some reason, she sets her sights on Mari. And this is where Girlfriend starts doing something really subtle and special. Akko doesn't just give Mari a makeover, she helps her come out of her shell. They start hanging out. Mari tries new clothes, she gets her hair cut, starts caring about how she looks. Not because she suddenly wants to be popular, but because someone she cares about is looking at her differently. The haircut scene is a perfect example. It's more than just a style change, it's a turning point. At first, Mari's unsure. The cut looks odd to her, and she genuinely wonders if this is some cruel joke. That's how insecure she is. How impossible it seems that someone like Akko could genuinely want to spend time with someone like her. But then Akko calls her the cutest thing ever. And Mari's entire world tilts. It's not some big dramatic moment. It's just a simple, kind word from someone she admires, but it hits her in the way she didn't really expect. Like suddenly realizing you've been holding your breath. That's what Girlfriends excels at. These fragile, easily missed moments that mean everything when you're a young teenager trying to figure out yourself. the compliment that lands harder than it should. I remember back in high school, a girl in my English class once told me I had a really cute nose. She also said it was perfect. I've never forgotten that. Not just because it was such a specific and unexpected compliment, but because while I've always loved how I look, I've got my dad's nose. And yeah, it fits my face, it's pretty proportional, but it's not exactly what most people would call a model's nose, as it has kind of a bulbous tip. Still, hearing that, it stuck with me. It made me feel seen in this small, startling way. It wasn't something I disliked, just one of those features I knew didn't fit the usual beauty standards, even if it fit me perfectly. And that's what Mari is feeling at that moment. She's not just hearing that she looks cute, she's being seen and accepted in a way that she never really expected. That rhymed. And that opens up something inside of her that she can't quite name yet. What makes their dynamic so powerful is that they both admire each other for exactly what they lack. Mari sees Akko as this glamorous, confident girl who has everything figured out. Akko sees Mari as a natural beauty, pure, smart, sweet, and effortlessly kind. They're both wrong, and they're both right. But Mari's world doesn't just expand through Akko, it expands through the people that Akko brings into her life. Through her, Mari meets Sugiyama and Tamami, two girls who are loud, affectionate, and effortlessly confident in ways that leave Mari a little stunned at first. She's surprised when they casually kiss each other on the cheek, or flirt just for fun, without any deeper meaning behind it. To Mari, who's still trying to figure out where the line is between friendship and something else, this kind of openness feels both exciting and alien. But over time, they become her friends too. Real friends. The kind that she never imagined herself having. They're messy, they overshare, they tease, they pull her into karaoke nights and makeup sessions and silly girl talk. And while Mari might not be as wild as they are, their presence helps her realize that girlhood isn't one fixed thing. You can be shy and smart and still laugh too loud at lunch. You can care about grades and love cute clothes. You can be unsure of yourself and still want to be seen. Girlfriends is only 35 chapters long. That's not a huge number. Plenty of manga run for hundreds of chapters and still don't manage to say half as much.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass.
But what Girlfriends does with those 35 chapters is something extraordinary. It lets two girls fall in love in real time. With all the hesitation, miscommunication, overthinking, and tiny moments that define a real teenage crush. Actually, that's one of the biggest criticisms I see with this story. That the pacing is bad. That it's slow, uneven, or even frustrating. But to me, that slow burn is exactly what makes the story feel real. Teenage feelings rarely follow neat timelines or perfect emotional arcs. They're messy, awkward, and often painfully slow to unfold. The pauses, the back and forth, the hesitations, they aren't flaws. They're a reflection of what it's like to be young and uncertain about something as overwhelming as first love. Especially queer first love. Yes, the characters sometimes struggle to communicate, and yes, the drama can feel over the top. But that's not just teenage melodrama for its own sake, it's the authentic confusion of growing up, of not knowing how to say what you feel, or even what you feel yourself. And you do have to acknowledge that yeah, the story does feel a bit messy at times. Morinaga herself admitted in the afterword that she had no long-term plan when she started the series, and it definitely shows. There are chapters where it feels like nothing happens, and others where entire emotional arcs get crammed into a few pages. These are just flaws that I can look past because of how great I find the story to be. Beyond just defending the pacing, it's important to understand why that slow burn works so well here. Mari and Akko don't just declare their feelings overnight. Every small glance, every small compliment, every gesture of kindness becomes charged with meaning. And by the time that they finally confront their feelings head on, it feels earned. Definitely does not feel forced. One memorable moment is Mari's first kiss with Akko. Mari drunkenly kisses Akko while she's asleep. I really liked the scene because it was funny and honest. Mari even acknowledges that she assaulted Akko, and despite it being her first time drinking, she takes responsibility for her actions. That kind of self-awareness from the author is rare and refreshing. Another aspect that adds to the story's realism is Mari getting a boyfriend. It might seem like a plot complication, but honestly, it feels true to life. Many women who eventually realize they're lesbians have dated men at some point. In chapter 14, while Akko is doing Mari's makeup for a date, Mari's feelings become even more tangled. She cries to Akko and says that her love will never happen, because at this point in the series, she's in love with her. Akko tells Mari that she's cute and has a great personality, and if Akko were a guy, she'd fall head over heels for her. But instead of comfort, Mari pushes Akko down to the floor and says, "You're so mean." Then, in a desperate, heartbreaking moment, Mari kisses Akko and asks, "See, it'll never happen, will it?" before walking away. In the next chapter, we see Akko conflicted. She thinks it's not such a big deal when girls kiss other girls, that it's just for fun, especially when drunk or taking pictures, and it's nothing like when boys kiss girls. This rings true in reality. My own mother has pictures from when she was in her 20s kissing her best friends, all while she was dating my father. Growing up, I thought this was normal, that this is just what straight women do, until I learned more about LGBTQ+ identities. I still remember when gay marriage was legalized in the US. Many of us do if we were alive for it. That moment helped me realize that women can love other women, that they can kiss other women like they would their husbands. It doesn't just have to be a friendly kiss. It can be something real and deep. So when Akko was getting worked up over this, I saw myself in her. I saw a young gal in a country that isn't so open about gay people. And by the time that Akko realizes her feelings for Mari, she's scared that Mari won't accept her. That Mari might have moved on, or maybe that she just misunderstood her confession. Akko's fear goes beyond just Mari rejecting her. It's the fear of losing the one person who's become her closest friend and support. Meanwhile, Mari's doubts come from years of confusion and the pressure to fit into what everyone else expects of her. So when Akko finally blurts out, "Will you go out with me?" it's both shocking and perfectly in character. And it's just as believable when Mari runs away. But when they finally talk openly, clearing up misunderstandings and expressing their love, it feels so genuine and satisfying. That moment of honesty makes all the messy steps and missteps worthwhile. One of the things that makes Girlfriends stand out is how it never actually uses the word lesbian. Now, I could be wrong on this, but from all of my scouring of the manga, I never saw it. No one says it, no one questions it out loud, and there's no dramatic "what am I" moment. And that's kind of powerful in its own way. It mirrors how a lot of real queer people come to understand their identities. Not through a checklist, not through a grand realization, but slowly. Through feelings that start to blur lines they didn't even know existed. Sometimes, especially as teens, you don't have the right vocabulary yet, but the emotions are already there. And that's what Girlfriends gets so right. Not every queer person feels comfortable with labels. Even I use the label queer most of the time because I'm scared to label myself and have to change. What if I say I'm one thing and then I'm wrong? What if I grow? What if I fall in love with someone unexpected? It's easier, safer even, to stay broad, to leave space for uncertainty. And this manga gives space for that uncertainty. It lets these two girls explore what they're feeling without slapping a label on it. It doesn't just rush them into coming out. It doesn't demand they explain themselves. It just lets them feel. Are Mari and Akko lesbians? Are they bisexual? We don't know. It doesn't matter. They're dating who they want to date. They're figuring things out the way that many of us do. Through emotion first, language later. If ever. Girlfriends doesn't make queerness a spectacle. It doesn't hinge on a dramatic coming out or a political statement. Instead, it treats falling in love with your best friend as something completely human. And honestly, sometimes that kind of representation hits harder than anything else. Because it reminds you that your experience doesn't have to look a certain way to be valid. You don't need to have the right words. You don't need to be sure. You just need to feel it. I love when stories let teen girls simply be messy, emotional, curious, and totally themselves. Girlfriends leans into all the tropes. Shopping trips, late-night phone calls, celebrity crushes, diet fads, and fashion makeovers. But it never really feels like it's mocking them. These aren't throwaway scenes or shallow fluff. They're treated as real, formative parts of growing up. Morinaga understands that the so-called girly things are just as meaningful as the big emotional beats. The way that Mari and Akko bond over outfits or magazines is just as important to their relationship as their first kiss. These moments are how they build trust, closeness, and the sense of identity. They are how they move from friendship into something more. One of the things I love the most is that the manga doesn't just show one kind of girlhood. You can be like Mari, quiet, anxious, unsure of how to make friends, and still be fully, completely a girl. Girlfriends doesn't just pit the shy girl against the social one. It lets both exist, side by side, and it shows how they bring out the best in each other. So many stories about teen girls either glamorize them or tear them down. They make them either role models or punchlines. But Girlfriends just lets them be. It doesn't ask them to be wiser than their years or ashamed of their feelings. It takes their world seriously, even when that world is full of lip gloss and boy band posters and insecurities about weight. There's something healing about that, about seeing girlhood treated as worthy of attention, not something to grow out of or apologize for. The manga doesn't tell you who's right or wrong, it just shows two girls figuring things out, together, one small moment at a time. And as they stumble through crushes and confusions, mistakes and miscommunications, what stands out the most is how soft the story is with them. It doesn't try to punish them for not knowing what they want. It doesn't rush them. It gives them the space to try, mess up, and try again. It's gentle, it's kind, and for a story about teenage girls, that's revolutionary. Yes, Girlfriends was published between 2006 and 2010, so some aspects definitely show their age. The phones are bulky, the fashion is early 2000s, and even gay acceptance has bloomed since then. But the story itself, the core of Aiko and Mari's journey, that doesn't feel dated at all. What feels dated, honestly, is how quiet and slow the story is compared to today's fast-paced swipe-happy culture. In an age where love stories sometimes get wrapped up in a single TikTok, Girlfriends takes its time, letting feelings simmer and grow over weeks and months. That slow burn can feel unusual, or even frustrating from some readers now, but for others, it's a welcome break from instant gratification. I, myself, am a huge fan of slow burns. I don't care if a book is mostly slice of life and there's some romance brewing in the background. I love it. I'm a sucker for reality. Classic literature, history, realism. Stories that don't rush the big moments but instead let the small ones breathe, they will always be my favorites. Here's another thing that makes Girlfriends stand out. Unlike a lot of modern queer media, which often centers around tragedy, heartbreak, or trauma, this story is hopeful and tender. It's rare to see a queer story that isn't weighed down by conflict or suffering. That's not to say that those stories aren't important. They absolutely are. But sometimes you just want to see people falling in love and figuring things out without the world falling apart around them. Sometimes we don't want to see the love interest die in every show, book, or manga. We don't want to see the homophobia tear people down to see the bullies win. Sometimes we just want romance. Something pure, simple, and full of hope. Girlfriends offers a kind of sanctuary, a space where love isn't defined by a struggle or tragedy, but by quiet moments of connection, discovery, and joy. It reminds us that queer stories don't always have to be about fighting the world. Sometimes they're just about two people learning how to care for each other. That's why, even with its old school details, Girlfriends still hits me right in the feels. And I think it does the same for a lot of people. It's not about the clunky flip phones or those early 2000s tank tops. It's about emotions. It's about watching something real and messy unfold. The slow, sometimes painful, but always beautiful way people connect. So why does Girlfriends still matter in 2025? Because it reminds us that love, especially queer love, doesn't have to be a tragedy or a headline. It's about the everyday moments, the small steps, and the discoveries. In a world where queer stories often get reduced to conflict and hardship, Girlfriends offers something different, a gentle, hopeful look at what it means to find yourself and someone else at the same time. Even as society changes, as conversations around identity and representation evolve, the core feelings don't change. And for queer teens, especially seeing a story that doesn't demand they come out or face disaster just for loving who they love, that's powerful. It also matters because it shows friendship and love as fluid, messy, and complicated. Mari and Akko aren't perfect. They don't always have the answers, but they're learning, together. That kind of honesty is rare and important, especially now. Think about the media we consume today. So much is curated, polished, and presented as an ideal. Social media feeds are highlight reels, and even fictional relationships feel overly dramatic or neatly packaged. Girlfriends offers a kind of refreshing counterpoint. It is comfortable in the awkward silences, the misunderstandings, the moments where characters stumble and have to find their way back to each other. And seeing that reflected in a queer love story can be incredibly validating. So many queer stories today are toxic relationships. And yes, while I consume these like I'm eating the best pizza I've ever had, it's nice to have relationships that are wholesome, but still realistic. While dramatic, high conflict stories have their appeal, the constant barrage of toxic queer relationships can send a damaging message that queer love is inherently difficult or destined for heartache. Something in the science realm that really pisses me off is a statistic that is thrown around during conversations about lesbians. According to the 2010 National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, 43.8% of lesbian women and 61.1% of bisexual women report experiencing intimate partner violence. That's compared to 35% of heterosexual women. The problem isn't the data, it is how it's used. People twist these numbers to imply that queer relationships are inherently dysfunctional, and that's just not true. The study doesn't clarify when these women were victimized, or by whom. A lot of lesbians date men before realizing they're attracted to women. I, myself, have dated 2 men before realizing I wasn't very fond of relationships that contain men, but those still count in the numbers. For lesbians, 67.4% reported only female perpetrators. That still means about a third had female partners at some point. Bisexual women experience the highest rates of violence across the board, yet that often gets overlooked. And all of this ignores a deeper issue. The way that we define and recognize domestic violence is still shaped by bias. It's often seen as a women's problem, both in society and within the justice system. Here's the kicker. Gay men were more likely than gay women to experience intimate partner violence, but you rarely hear about that. Sadly, these stats get twisted to support anti-feminist arguments. See, men aren't the real problem. Look at how violent lesbian relationships are. But if you actually look at the study and read it, that narrative falls apart. This will come up in future scripts, but I'm a woman in STEM. I spend a lot of time reading research papers and analyzing how data gets misused. So when I bring up these numbers, it's not to say men are evil. It's to say that abuse is abuse. And queer relationships aren't inherently more toxic. But why am I bringing up these statistics in this conversation, though, you might ask? Because when fictional queer stories are always dramatic or toxic, it feeds into those same harmful misinterpretations. Young queer people hear weaponized statistics and see dysfunctional relationships everywhere. It's easy to internalize that queer love is destined for pain. This is why Girlfriends isn't just nice to have, it's essential. It actively challenges the narrative that queer love is inherently dysfunctional. Mari and Akko build something grounded in respect and emotional growth. When media tropes and misused statistics constantly suggest that queerness comes with chaos, a story like Girlfriends becomes revolutionary. It doesn't need to shout, it just shows us 2 girls figuring out who they are and how to love each other. And that simple act educates, validates, and offers hope. So that's why Girlfriends nails women love women teen romance like no other. It gives us a story that's not about drama or tragedy, but about the quiet, real moments of 2 girls figuring out love in themselves. It's a much-needed breath of fresh air in a world full of toxic queer stories. In a media landscape that prioritizes sensationalism, Girlfriends offers a gentle counter-narrative. It reminds us that wholesome queer love is not only possible, but profound. This manga proves that honesty can be far more impactful than manufactured chaos, and it leaves us with hope and validation, even with its slow burn attitude. Thanks for watching and listening. If you enjoyed this deep dive, stay tuned. There's more coming, including unpacking the science and stats behind some more stories that we love, and tackling some pretty controversial takes on anime and manga that you definitely won't want to miss. Also, thank you for putting up with my crappy mic quality. I promise one day when I'm not broke, I will buy a quality one. Until then, take care. Keep seeking out those moments of real love, and remember that sometimes the quiet stories speak the loudest. It is a Yuri manga by Milk Morigaga. Morigaga. It is a Yuri manga by Milk Mori. I can't do this. It's a Yuri manga by Milk Morinata. 3 motion first. I can't take this stupid video. And this manga gives space for that uncertain. There's fucking thunder. Oh my god, give me space. And this manga gives space for that uncertainty. It lets these two girls. What the fuck is wrong with me? Seriously. What was that beep? Am I crazy? Seriously. There's no way this is English. I'm removing that.